Hello and welcome back to Star Citizen. My name is Evenlease, and today on 10 Minutes More or Less Ship Review, behind me I have the Freelancer MAX by MISC. Let's go ahead and take a look at this beautiful hauler. Alright, welcome back everybody to another review of this one with the Freelancer MAX, one of my favorite ships in Star Citizen. Honestly, the Freelancer series has been around since pretty much the beginning of any playable, demo or alpha, beta, whatever you want to call it, starting with the hangar module with the original Freelancer. That ship changed quite a bit, leading to what we have now, and probably with some future changes coming along the pipeline. We just never know. Now, taking a look at this ship here, before we do, I do want to say thank you to everybody that entered into the last giveaway. That was pretty awesome, and congratulations again, Apollo, for winning that one. Hopefully you enjoy the Sulin. It's a great ship. Awesome starter. Now, moving on, this Freelancer Mask here, just like, Freelancer Max, not Mask. The Max is a hauler. It's a big hauler, and it's meant to just move cargo, but it can do so much more than that as well. Starting price on this thing is $150 if you were to pledge for it on the pledge store. Outside of that, you can buy it in-game for $4,252,500 aUEC. So that's a pretty decent price given the fact that it can do so much. Now, you're going to ask, what do you mean by that? Obviously, because, if you've never flown one of these, you're going to be like, well, honestly, it just looks a little, strange. And honestly, what can it really do? Well, it's honestly quite a bit. Compared to a lot of the bigger ships in the game, this ship has a lot of ability, and recently just got an update as well. Now, the Freelancer Max, I'm going to say it sooner or later correctly. We'll see. Starts with 1,264 DPS. As you can see, the 4 guns on the front are 4 size 3 Omsky 9 laser cannons, which are pretty awesome. They hit really hard, but they have a pretty low capacitor. You're typically around 19 shots per gun, so you got to be careful with that at your normal power setting. So if you run out of that too quick, you're going to be fighting for the capacitor a lot of the times. But you gotta be careful with this ship in the first place. It's not meant to fight. The Freelancer MAX is a very big ship, and it maneuvers like so. This thing maneuvers terribly, especially in atmosphere. You start pushing the gas pedal and, try to fight, you'll start to lose control and fall out of the sky, which is pretty scary when you're in a ship this big. Outside of the guns, it does have 4 size 3 Thunderbolt 3 missiles and 4 size 2 Dominator 2 missiles. Of course, they're on the bigger wings near the engine nacelles. Now, currently, you can see some of it on screen, but then once we get back to this screen here, I fired most of them off, just kind of checking them out. It's always fun to kind of shoot things with these. So it's got a pretty good amount of firepower for what it is, but are you going to be out there, purposely going after player targets with this thing? No, absolutely not. I mean, you could. Come on, you could take any ship out there and bounty hunt with it, even a reclaimer if you're ballsy enough. But you're not going to want to. The ship's not meant for that in any means. The weapons on here are solely for defense. But, you could definitely take this out to PvE, go against AI targets. You could definitely do that. And those guns will rip through most AI targets pretty good. You don't even need to be an expert pilot, honestly. But you do have to be very wary of your maneuverability, again, because you will get outmaneuvered, even by the AI now, since they fly fantastic when the servers are working pretty well. Outside of that, let's talk about defense. What does this ship have going for it, right? So it has 18,000 bubble shield, which is just phenomenal. It got kind of an upgrade in that regard. It has quite a few shield generators now, and honestly, it feels great with that because it has a kind of a lower health pool. I'm not sure if it's supposed to have that low of a health pool. Honestly, I wish it didn't, but the 18,000 bubble shield definitely helps out. Takes, negates some of that low health that I'm about to talk about here in a second. which is good because even with it being a bubble shield, it's going to help resist some of that fire that you get in some sort of a cargo pirating attack. And you kind of need that because your health pool sits at 21,300. For a ship this size, it's definitely, I feel like, needs to be double that. Probably in the 40s, honestly. I just feel like 21,000 health isn't a lot for a cargo ship of this nature. I know it's not a military vessel or anything, but honestly, while we still have health points, you got to make some of these ships, not so scary to fly, because when you're transporting very expensive cargo, especially with the cargo update right around the corner, you don't want to waste all that time loading your ship manually just for it to be taken out of the sky so quick. So hopefully they'll, sooner or later readjust some of the health points on some of these ships to better suit their intended role. It would only make sense. Just like, in today's world, semi-trucks and semi-truck trailers, they're not made of paper mache. Honestly, they rip through anything they touch, right? And they can take quite the beating. You don't, you're not sitting here in a Honda Civic. This is a Freelancer MAX. So outside of that, this thing does carry 120 cargo, SCU of cargo on the cargo grid. And it's amazing, too, because they did update the interior. Now, some people will say, oh, the ship got its gold standard pass. No, it didn't. And I'm going to say that very blatantly right now. It didn't get a gold standard pass. It just got a components pass. Because as you can see, there's still hovering buttons for closing the doors, getting into the turret. There's no button panels for any of the doors, no locking mechanisms, nothing like that, no light control. It's still missing the gold standard pass to physicalize the buttons for a lot of these things, but it did get a major update to the interior where they physicalized all the components, so it looks fantastic. You have access to it all now. They updated a lot of the lighting on the bottom of the ship and honestly got a lot of much needed love since these ships haven't been touched in years. There's some speculation right now that the newest sneak peek is actually a rework of the Freelancers. I personally don't believe so. I think that would be kind of a waste of time. Let's not focus on reworking ships right now, and let's focus on the backlogs. That's my opinion, honestly. It's just an opinion. But there's just so many ships out there that could see release and need to see release before we talk about reworking a lot of these ships. And we don't need to keep making new teams, right, to do that until we can finish some of the backlog. Again, my personal opinion. Don't take offense by that. There's a lot of ships out there that could use a beautiful rework. I totally agree. But that's not the focus. Getting back to the ship, this is the cargo hold here, the main cargo hold. This is where you're going to hold a lot of your cargo. And then right here, you can hold more cargo, a part of the 120 on the SCU grid. And you even have a docking ring at the top there. It's quite interesting how they have that designed. I like that. Hopefully this is shielded. A little bit more, digging I'll have to do on that. But this cargo bay, let's talk about this. So the normal Freelancer is nowhere near this size with the cargo bay, obviously. This ship, though, can carry, the ROC, just like a normal, Freelancer. But this ship can also carry an Ursa medevac or an Ursa rover. That is by far an amazing feat to do at the price tag of this ship. To carry an Ursa medevac with no problem is fantastic. And I think that's something you really have to consider if you want to be in the medevac role without having a massive ship like a Corsair or something to carry something like that. Because sometimes you don't want to have to fly a medical ship just to be a medical person, right? Well, this gives you that ability, and I really love that. Especially since they got rid of the big hanging metal pieces here that used to be a part of this turret. There used to be metal pieces that block you from getting certain vehicles in. They got rid of that, so now when they're up in the turret, you're good to go. Or even when you're not up in the turret, it's just out of the way. So that's fantastic. I love that you can do that. It really adds to the amount of roles that you can do with this ship outside of just hauling cargo. Getting into that, what can you do with this ship? You can haul cargo. You can do deliveries, like regular package deliveries, not cargo per se. You can go to bunkers. You can do, medical runs. You could do, vehicle transport. You could do so many different things with this ship, and I love that. Getting further into the interior, you do have a restroom here. Obviously, not operational yet, but it will get there someday. Over here, you do have a kitchenette area with some glasses, some towels, a little food synthesizer. I can't say it right now. I can hardly even say Freelancer MAX. An engineer station, which is not operatable. It's not of any operation yet. Maybe with the update coming with 4.0, that might be. And then you have 4 beds here, because this ship is surprisingly a 4-person cruise ship. Honestly, it never really made sense to me, given the size of the ship. I don't see 4 people really needing to be here. They could take away probably 2 of these beds and use it for some more, functionality here. But, to each their own. Some people like it, some people don't. These beds are also escape pods, so that's really cool. If you're in an emergency situation, you can get in there and, eject, but it's not functioning yet. So don't take that as a part of why you should or shouldn't buy it. But sooner or later, hopefully it will be. Once you move up in here, you do have, of course, the 4 seats. You got the pilot seat, co-pilot seat, and then, of course, your rear seats. Now, there is some talk that I haven't tested it myself. I don't fly with people too often, something I plan on changing here soon. But that, each seat can try to control the guns on each side. I'm not sure how legitimate that is. That's something that somebody that had more experience with multi-crew can maybe answer for me in the comments down below, which I appreciate everybody that always adds a comment. If I miss something, I appreciate you guys. You are all awesome. But this ship has a decent view. It's got a very helmet-esque view out the front here, with a little bit of a top view here. You know me, I like windows, so this isn't terrible. It used to be worse. It looks better. It's not a Constellation. At least there's not 15 of these bars going across the window here. So it's pretty good. I like that. Outside of that, this ship fulfills a lot of roles. And you do have multiple entrances. You got the side entrance here, so you don't always have to open that back door. You can always run to the side and come up here. If you're worried about someone sneaking on your ship, this kind of prevents that, because you don't have to leave this ladder open. Obviously, I just did that to show you guys, kind of what it looks like. But, I like to do that. If I'm worried, oh man, there's somebody camping me out, I'm just going to go through the ladder. So, honestly, I feel like this ship is just fantastic for its role. It's a great price point. Does it compete with things like the Taurus, like the Constellation Taurus? It can, definitely. The Taurus is bigger. It's gonna, it's bigger. It's got more guns. The maneuver's kind of the same. But honestly, this is just a cheaper price point. You're $50 cheaper. This might be the best, point to go if you're looking at that dollar amount, and you still want to have like an Ursa rover or a medevac rover in here. This is just a fantastic option, because why spend $200 just to transport an Ursa, right? So yeah, it's just not bad at all. So, I mean, that's something to consider. What would I rate this ship out of 10? Honestly, this ship, given its role as a, big, heavy cargo hauler, with its size being where it's at and everything, it's not bad at all. I would say this ship is honestly, its maneuverability is kind of hindered. It's got a kind of a lower health, but I'm going to be very fair to this ship just because it's so fantastic. And I haven't even talked about some of the stats yet. Oh my God, what am I doing? I'm just sitting here rambling on. Let me go ahead and finish up with some of my stats here, and then we'll go ahead and talk about the rest of my score opinion. Now, this ship does move at a top speed of 185 SCM, and that's not so great, but it's a big ship. It's not supposed to be going really fast. 315 forward boost, 155 backwards boost, with a top nav speed of 1100. That's really not terrible. Given the size of this ship, it definitely could be worse. And as you can see on the top there, another thing I didn't mention, that turret is, obviously you got to have a person up in there, and it is a size 2 CF227 Badger. So a little bit more firepower for you if you need to run from somebody. Always good to have. Turrets on a ship like this, I always feel like that's something that should be a part of any cargo ship. Definitely, like the whole sea, I'm very disappointed that there's just a bunch of, turrets for moving cargo around. I totally understand that, but I feel like there's not much for defense. Now, this ship does have 2,500 quantum fuel, so you can definitely travel a good distance without having to refuel or anything. Doesn't really matter if you change the quantum drive or not and, jump further. This ship is just fantastic for what you need to do. So, honestly, what would I give this ship out of 10? That's pretty easy. This ship is a 9 out of 10. I would almost give it a 10 out of 10. The health point and the maneuverability is just kind of hit and miss. Maneuverability is to be accounted for. It's totally reasonable. It's a big ship. But the health point's a little low for my taste. and it definitely doesn't have that gold standard pass. So it is a 9 out of 10. It's a fantastic ship. Would I own this ship? Well, I do own this ship. I love this ship. I think it's a great ship, and if I want to be under $200 on the pledge store for transporting a Ursa Medevac, then this is what I'm picking, honestly. Let me know what you think of the Freelancer MAX down in the comments below. I appreciate you all. You all are very awesome, and I can't wait to see what you guys think of this ship. It's an oldie, but it's a goodie. Hopefully there, someday, one day, there'll be a rework. But let's focus on the backlog, right? I gotta stop talking about that. Thanks, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Hello, and welcome back to Star Citizen. My name is Evenly. Oh my god, what am I doing?